Hi everyone, I'm Joseph from Namseoul University. Welcome back, my online class. This is the last time today's lecture, so please focus on the continually in this class. And this time we will learn about the 22 immutable market, 22 immutable law of marketing, especially law of 15 and law of 16. The law 15 is the law of candor, and the law of 16 is the law of singularity. So the law of candor and the law of singularity, these two laws are deeply connected to the consumer psychology and the brand trust and strategy focus, and then and long-term competitive advantage, and modern digital marketing environments. So this law 15 and 16 is has a has been related to the consumer psychology. So let's take a look at the law of candor. The law of candor the states that the definition of the law of candor is when you admit a negative, the prospect will give you a positive. But this law argues that honesty in marketing creates credibility. Consumers are naturally skeptical, so uh, exaggeration. Uh, they accept brands to claim a superiority. Therefore, when a company openly admit a weakness, consumers become psychologically disarmed. Instead of resisting the company message, they began to trust trust it. They began to trust this company and trust the message. So the law of candor, is a psychological strategy where acknowledging a weakness or flaw flaw builds intact trust and credibility with customers, which is then immediately leveraged into a positive benefit. This is the definition of the law of candor. This law of candor has a psychological foundation. So, uh, the question is, why does this work? Why does this law of candor work? Because of the cognitive dissonance reduction and trust signaling and authenticity perception and psychological contrast. So because of this, uh, the law of candor work. So when company admit their flaws and the weakness, they seem to appear more human and more transparent and more uh, valuable. So uh, when company and brands automate flaws and their weakness, uh, it's, it's more look the humanity and more transparent and more believable and more trustworthy. So consumers think if they are honest about their weakness, maybe their strengths are also true. So this is the central psychological mechanism behind the law. So uh, before uh, in this last time we have learned about set for now the mechanism of perceived perceived value. So this is very similar. the mechanism of similar mechanism of perceived value and this law of candor. So this is a psychological mechanism. So this is the central or psychological mechanism behind the law. An important clarification is the law of candor doesn't mean destroying your brand and admitting uh, catastrophic failure or highlighting fatal weakness. Uh, so law of candor doesn't mean this destroying your brand and review the fatal weakness and admitting catastrophic failure. Instead, it means that strategically acknowledging uh, manageable weakness. So not a fatal weakness. So strategically acknowledge the manageable and handle we can handle the weakness that we can handle, and then reframe the negative along the greater strength. So the formula of candor is is like this. The first is weakness. The brand and the company uh, automate the weakness, and consumer make trust with them and credibility, and then acceptance, and then stronger positioning. So please remember this formula of candor. The first is weakness make the trust make the credibility, and credibility make acceptance, and acceptance make a stronger positioning. And next is the key principle of the law of candor. So the first principle is honesty builds immediate trust. In the modern market, trust is scarce, especially in social media, influencer marketing, AI generated advertising, and personal content. Uh, there are few trustworthy contents. So social media and influencer marketing has a force uh, uh, influencer marketing is providing a false information and a false advertisements. So consumers are overwhelmed by promotional noises. There are so many promotional noises. So therefore, transparency become differentiation. So companies transparation and automating their weakness is it look like a transparency. So transparency becomes a differentiation. The it's first principle, and the second principle is the consumers already know your weakness. So one of the biggest strategic mistakes in marketing is pretending weakness do not exist. So but in many companies, they want to hide their weakness for consumers. But consumers today, they consumer research products and read reviews, a lot of reviews, and watch YouTube about that, and watch YouTube analysis and compare this instantly. So trying to hide the weaknesses often damages credibility more than the weakness itself. So consumer so many companies and many marketers and entrepreneurs and uh, must know have to know about consumers already know your weakness. So trying to hide weakness often damages credibility more than the weakness itself. The third principle is the candor, create a memorability. Memorability. So unexpected, honest attacks attention. So traditional advertising says we are the best and we are the number one, we are the number one products and we have a perfect quality and we are the best. But candor interrupts expectations. That interruption creates a stronger memory encoding. So many consumers heard about the uh, traditional advertising like we are the best, we are the number one, we are the perfect quality. But if the consumer uh, heard about the uh, we have a weakness and we have a flaw, uh, uh, this information create a stronger uh, memory and stronger rememberness. And next is principle. Is the first principle is a small negative can strengthen a bigger positive. The weakness must support the core positioning. Uh, the example is expensive may imply premium quality, and slow production may imply the craftsmanship. And limited quantity may imply exclusivity. So thus the weakness become evidence of strength. So uh, you have to remember the weakness also can become the strength. So the weakness become evidence of the strength. So small negative can strengthen a bigger positive. The the first principle is also very important. The law of candor, the core principle is like this. The first is automate negatives immediately. Automating a flaw is powerful because it's unimpacted and honest, causing people to open their mind. And second is the negative must be obvious. The negative must be something or something widely perceived as a weakness by the audience, or triggering instant argument. And third is the shift to positive quickly. The goal is not to apologize. Please remember this. The goal is not to apologize, but to use the honest to set up the compelling benefits. So this is the tool. This 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 law of candle is a tool to get a consumer's credibility. So uh, this final goal is not to apologize, but to use the honest to set up the compelling benefit. Okay, let's take a look at the classic example and the modern example. The first example is Avis, the one of the most famous example in marketing history in the rental car market in US. And their campaign said Avis is only number two. So why go with us? We try harder. So uh, the uh, Avis admit is their position, the number two position. Uh, so why go with that? We try harder because we are the number two. So this campaign succeeded because they admitted their market position and acknowledged inferiority, inferiority and converted a weakness into motivation. Consumers interpreted humility, obviously has a humility and efforts and consumer focuses. So this campaign dramatically improves brand perception and get a high high growth in revenue. And the second example is vegetarian. Vegetarian only advertising openly acknowledges the taste you hate twice a day. Instead of pretending the taste was pleasant, they reframed the unpleasantness as proof of effectiveness. So they focus on the effectiveness than the presence of their test taste. So consumers thought if it tastes strong. So consumers thought about if it tastes stronger, may it worse. So weakness became a functional credibility. And the next example is a Volkswagen, the famous Think Small campaign, the Volkswagen campaign Think Small, at a time when American cars emphasize size, they have big size and luxury and more powerful. The Volkswagen admitted their car was small, but they repositioned smallness as efficient, intelligent, and economical. So this became one of the most influential advertising campaigns ever created. So Volkswagen Think Small, the Think Small campaign is very it is was a very powerful campaign in ever since. And let's move on to the modern industry examples. The first example is Tesla. Tesla is very is a very role model in marketing. Tesla often receives criticism regarding the panel gaps and software instabilities and delayed customer services, but yet many customers still admire the brands because the company openly embraces imperfection and positions itself as innovation first. So Tesla has the innovation first, but they also can have the panel gaps, the software instability, and delayed customer service because Tesla has an innovation company. So consumers tolerate weakness because the mission feels authentic. So uh, this is the um, very representative of the law of candor. Representative example of law of candor. And the second example is dominant pizzas, a, a legendary modern candor campaign. Domino's public admitted our pizza was not good enough. This radical honesty shocked customers. We admitted our pizza sucked. Our pizza is like a trash. So then the company redesigned the recipe and improved the ingredient and documented the transformation publicly. So sales increases dramatically because Domino Pizza's honesty and honesty restore the trust. So this is a very popular example in law of candor. And next is Patagonia. Patagonia openly discusses environmental cost and overconsumption and manufacturing impact. So one famous campaign even said, "Don't buy this jacket. Don't buy this jacket. Uh, please wear please wear the jacket that you had." So this honesty strengthens environmental credibility and brand loyalty and premium positioning. So uh, Patagonia has Patagonia has a uh, very big grosses because of this campaign. Don't buy this jacket. So final strategy inside of the law of candor is trust is now more valuable than hype. Modern marketing success in increasingly depends on authentic- authenticity and transparency and emotional credibility. So consumers no longer buy only products; they buy honesty, identity, and values and emotional alignment. And next, the law of singularity. The law of singularity states in any marketing situation, only one single, bold move will produce substantial results. It argues against spreading efforts across multiple strategies, favoring one focused high impact action to achieve success. The law of singularity states in each situation, only one only one move will produce substantial sorry. In each situation, only one move will produce substantial results. The law impasses a strategy focus. Most companies fail because they try too many strategies side, side, uh, simultaneously, spreads resources too thin, and lose positioning clarity. A great marketing success usually comes from one decisive idea, one dominant strategy move, one clear comparative advantage. So, the strategic meaning of the law of singularity is marketing is not about doing everything, copying competitors, or maximizing activities. Marketing is about identifying the highest impact moves. So, the key principle of the law of singularity is the principle is focus create the power, concentrated efforts create this uh, disprop- disproportionate results. Scattered efforts create uh, mediocrity. So this is similar to the military strategies and startup strategies and the psychological attention theory. So and principle two, the second principle is consumers remember one thing. The consumer rarely remember 10 features and multiple slogans complicated positioning. They rather than remember one words, one emotion, one dominant idea. And uh, third principle is strategy clarity beats tactical complexity. Many companies confuses active with effectiveness. Doing more marketing does not nationally necessarily create more impact. One highly focused strategy often outperforms dozens of disconnected campaigns. The first principle is the biggest opportunity is often hidden. The singular move is frequently counterintuitive and emotionally difficult or tragically risky. So great leaders identify leverage points other ignored. And the law of singularity is the core principle is one bird stroke and identify vulner- identify vulnerability and focus over proliferation. And first is power of focus. The especially the power of focus is very important. Okay, let's take a look at the example of the law of singularity. The FedEx focus on the overnight delivery. So they have overnight delivery. The one powerful promise is this singular positioning that differentiated them completely. And Volvo owned safety, and McDonald's also. Uh, McDonald's achieved massive scale through consistency, speed, operational simplicity, and Netflix also uh, have a singular strategy move, uh, transitioning aggressively into streaming, while competitors protect old business model. Netflix concentrated resources on the transformational direction. This changes the entertainment industry globally. And TikTok also focus on the endlessly addictive short form engagement. So TikTok becomes a very powerful SNS channel. So they focus on the addictive short form engagement that singularity created explosive growth. And the last is the K-beauty industry application. Many cosmetic brands fail because they launch too many SKUs and target everyone and communicate unclear value propositions. However, successful K-beauty brands often dominate through the one hero ingredient and one skin concern or one emotional identity. For example, in Central focus brand and vegan identity brands and dermatologist focus brand and barrier repair specializations. So singularity improves recall, trust, and purchase conversion. Lastly, the final strategy inside is the biggest success often comes from one deceived strategy focus. And the final strategy inside is the final comparative reflection. The law of candor, build trust, and use honest, humanized brand and created credibility. Law of singularity, the build the focus and use concentration and clarify the positioning and create the memorability. So together, this law creates authentic positioning, strategic clarity, and the subsection of brand strengths. Okay, this is the end of this today's lecture, and thank you for attending this class. And please see next online class. See you next week. Bye.